Hello everyone, Silent here and welcome back to another Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to build an upgraded Drown and Trident farm in your Minecraft Bedrock Edition worlds. This Drown farm is extremely easy to build and very cheap as well. It is an Overworld and Nether based design, so it gets significantly more Drowns than a standard Overworld only design. This farm will produce around 1800 Drowns per hour, which is going to be way more Tridents than you ever need, and it's also a great source of experience too. As you can see, this farm isn't really all that big. It just looks a lot larger than it is because of the water, but if you look at it from the side, it's actually quite small and you don't need to place that many blocks for it. It's honestly a pretty straightforward little design. This farm is built over an ocean, so you get drowned spawning quite frequently. They spawn on the platforms here, and no matter where they spawn, they get pushed away by the water and fall down into these little chutes. Sometimes they pathfind a little bit, but that's not too big of a deal. Anyway, as you can see, they do actually get pushed down in here, and then they get sent to the Nether and removed from the mob cap basically instantly. This is much faster than killing them here in the Overworld, and that's how we're able to get much better rates than an Overworld only design. Due to the odd shape of the farm, you AFK down below it, that way the entirety of the farm is within the spawnable range, and this farm is designed for a simulation distance of 4, but you can build it on any sim distance that you want to. This, of course, works perfectly on realms and servers. Wherever you want to build it, it'll work just fine. Technically, you can expand the farm and make it larger. However, I got the exact same rates without those wings as I did with the wings. It's basically diminishing returns, and expanding it has no effect. Once you're in the Nether, all the drowns kind of spawn out of this portal. They fall a number of blocks, and they're basically a one-hit kill. As you can see, you can smack these guys with just a regular diamond sword, and they'll all die instantly. You get a ton of experience from this, and of course all of the loot goes into the chest as well. As you can see, you get a lot of rotten flesh and quite a few tridents as well, not to mention a fair number of knowledge shells and even a good bit of copper, to be fair. The Nether Side really isn't anything special. They basically just fall out of the portal, fall down, and that's where you kill them. However, you'll notice that the top of the Nether portal is reinforced with a lot of additional blocks, and that is to prevent them from possibly glitching out and flying off around your Nether. Sometimes that happens when you have a lot of mobs summoning in at one point. We also have a couple of slabs here on the back so that any of the guys that are stuck in the portal, you can throw a snowball at them or just punch them and they'll fly out of the portal. Typically, there's only a couple guys up here, so it's not really that big of a deal. Overall, there's only a couple guys up here at any given time, so if you feel like fixing that with a redstone, go for it. Otherwise, it's not really anything to worry about. I was going to have this tutorial out sooner, however, I decided to try an alternate design using split density, where we get 2 mob caps for the drowns, 1 mob cap on that side, and 1 on the opposite side. However, as you can see, this is a rather large farm, and it actually gets worse rates than this little farm over here. This gets about 1500 drowns per hour, and this one gets around 1800. So quite the difference for how much work it goes into this one. The main reason a split density farm like this one for a simulation distance of 4 doesn't really work out is because these slants are very hard to get all the spawning spots within that range. As you can see, this entire corner right here is outside the spawning range, so you lose a lot of spawning spots. Maybe if you were on a simulation distance of 6, then a split density farm like this one would make sense and you would get better rates, but I don't have rate tests for that because all my farms are made for Sim 4. You might be wondering why the farm is pointy like that and why we don't just use a flat platform of water, and that is because drowns do not like spawning in a single layer of water. They will, it's just way less common than 2 layers of water. So if you wanted a flat platform with 2 layers of water, you would need the soul sand bubble columns. As you can see, that doesn't really work that well, and a cone-shaped platform like this one over here just kind of cranks out the drowns. If you do a pointed platform like this one, then every single spawning spot has 2 layers of water, and you only need to place a water source at the top of it, and it just kind of works out really nicely that way. However, if you were to build this entire thing out of solid blocks like stone, then half of your spawning spots would be instantly invalid, and that is because mobs spawn on the very corner of blocks, like in between 4 blocks. So we have to replace the spawning platform with ice blocks. Ice is one of the only things I'm aware of that mobs can spawn on and also spawn inside of, and that's why we're using it for this mob farm. So rather simple mechanics, but it does allow us to get really good rates without that much effort. Now is a great time to mention that there is a download for this world on my website, silentwisperer.com. You can find a link in the description. description. So if you want to play around with any and all of these drown farms, you can download the world and have some fun with it. Since it's always good to have options when deciding what farms to build, if you want a smaller overworld only design, then I refer you to the one that I just did a tutorial on a couple of weeks ago. This gets about 1100 drowns per hour, and you can AFK at it for as long as you want to because it's overworld only, and it just has a Trident killer down here at the bottom to kill all the guys, and that's all there is to it. So if you want a simpler farm that is one dimension, then check out this one. But if you prefer a faster farm that is 2 dimensions, then let's just hop into the tutorial, shall we? For your convenience, there's a full materials listed down in the description of the video. That way you know absolutely everything you need to build with. The first thing that you want to do is find yourself a nice large ocean biome, and you want to be about 50 to 100 blocks away from any form of land. That way you get optimal drown spawns. I would not recommend building over a frozen ocean biome because then the water in your farm is going to start freezing, and that's just annoying. You do not need to chunk align this build, however it is directional a little bit, so make sure you know which way is north. So we're going to start off with an AFK platform that is 3 wide by 2, and this is going to be at Y191, exactly 128 blocks above that ocean. Just to be clear, these 2 central blocks are going to be your AFK spot, so you'll be standing right between these 2 when you are using the farm. So now that we have this platform installed, we need to go upwards by 16 blocks, so pillar up by 16, and that should take you to Y207. We're going to have 2 upper slabs directly above our AFK spots. So these are like the central blocks of our farm, and we need to expand these to the east and to the west by 21 blocks each. If you don't know which way is east, you can place down a sunflower, and those are always facing east, and of course the backside of that would be west. So we need to go this direction by 21 blocks, and we need to go that direction by 21 blocks as well. Once you're done, this platform should be 43 blocks wide and 2 blocks deep, as you can see here. And now we're going to be building a nether portal on the north side, so get your sunflower, and this over here is going to be north. We're going to place in a temporary slab right there, place in 3 pieces of obsidian, and then just basically obsidian all the way along the floor going to the edge, a temporary block, 3 obsidian up, and then temporary block, and just kind of bring this over. You guys know how to build a nether portal. We need to do that on the other side as well. So there's our 2 nether portals. I would recommend checking that both of these can be lit. These are max length portals, so if you count wrong, then you won't be able to light them. So make sure they're both exactly 21 and that you can light them. Either way, we need to cover all the tops of these portals in some lower slabs. That way we don't have anything spawning on top of them. So there is our nether portal covered in slabs, and that's really all there is to it. We can now go ahead and remove that because we don't need it anymore. And anything in this farm that I build out of magenta glass doesn't actually need to be glass. You can build it out of stone or cobblestone or any solid block that you want, really. However, anything I build out of white glass does actually need to be glass. So keep that in mind. A lot of what I'm building can be swapped out for cheaper materials. With that being said, we need to go ahead and add a little guardrail all the way around this platform to contain the water. So place in a line of blocks going all the way around this thing, and it needs to go to the same height as these slabs right here, essentially. So that is the foundation of your guardrail, but we actually need to raise this up by an additional 3 blocks. So place in 3 blocks of your choice above your nether portal, and then the entire guardrail going all the way around needs to be raised up to that layer. And finally, the guardrail to contain all the drowns is complete. After this, we're going to go ahead and place in a line of ice, starting at the very edge right here, and going all the way across this entire build. This is going to be the very foundation of your spawning platforms, and we're going to place in a line of ice on this side over here as well. Now that we have those 2 lines of ice in place, we need to staircase this up by 8 layers. So that is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That is going to be the very point of the build. You can remove all these temporary blocks, and then we actually need to go down on the opposite side as well. So you'll probably want to bridge across and then like staircase up from this side. Either way, it just needs to go down to the same level as it began at. So in total, your little point should look like this right here. Now, of course, this point needs to be expanded all the way across the entire farm so that it lines up with that edge over there. And you actually need to do this on both sides as well. So once you have this done, that's actually like the majority of the farm. It's basically just placing in a lot of ice. So this is what one of the completed points looks like. Keep in mind that you need to do this on the other side as well. It's the exact same process. And do not place any light sources on this ice, because that'll just melt it and then you have to replace it and rebuild it. And I would highly recommend building this during the day as well. That way you do not have any mobs spawning on this and you don't need to fight anything. So make sure you have a bed on you so that you can skip the night. So there's our 2 peaks in place, and that really is a lot of the farm done. So from here on out, we're going to be working on this side of the farm. Everything that I do on this side of the farm, you want to do on that side of the farm. It's basically symmetrical on both sides. So just mirror everything that we do over here onto that side. From the back side of your nether portal, you want to make a temporary bridge going out until you are directly underneath this piece of ice right here. And we're basically going to be building up the exact same thing that we built over there. So 2 nether portals to either side that are 21 blocks long, and then a slab platform that is 21 blocks to the left and 21 blocks to the right. So you can essentially line it up with everything that you built over there. You just extend the nether portals over by 21 until you have lined it up. Build them up, and that's really all there is to it. It is quite very simple. So as you can see, it's basically the exact same thing that we built over there, but the platform is going in the opposite direction, and everything is lined up with the previous platform. So this nether portal is exactly lined up with the one that we built earlier. The edges of the nether portal should be beyond this ice right here, and again, I'd recommend testing these nether portals to make sure that you can light them. That way you know they're built correctly. So now we're going to install a guardrail around this platform as well. So basically just a guardrail going all the way around at this layer using blocks of your choice. And then we also need another guardrail at this layer right here. So you can have a gap between them. I've never seen any baby drowns land between this gap, but if you happen to see any, then just fill it in. It's not too big of a deal. But as far as I'm aware, you don't need blocks right here. Now that guardrail is installed, we're going to go ahead and build up another guardrail going 3 blocks above the nether portal and all the way along the length of it. Now that that wall is installed, we need to go to either end of it and install a little pillar on the end, 4 blocks up, and then 2 glass blocks on top of it like so. And then we're going to put a front wall on this going to the same height as that and bring this all the way across. So all of that is just the guardrail to contain the drowns and make sure they don't fly off anywhere and land somewhere they shouldn't. So now we're going to grab some glass blocks, and basically anywhere that you have a piece of ice on this side or that side over there, you need to go up by 3 blocks just again to contain the water and to contain the drowns as well. So pillar this up all the way until the peak, and then you want to probably go to the opposite side and do that same thing over here as well. And once you're done, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Now that we have this little point installed on both sides of the farm, you want to go to the middle section right here and just bring this up with some glass blocks until it is level with this right here. Before we continue, you need to do everything that we've done to this side on the opposite side as well. So install your nether portals, install your platform, install your guardrails, and then this little peak as well onto this side of the farm. It's exactly the same, it's just mirrored in the opposite direction. And there you go, that is basically all there is to it. You build in the portals, the platforms, the guardrails, and the other guardrails. And once you're done with all that, it should look exactly the same on both sides. And now we're going to finish up the nether portal platforms. They're all the same, so I'll just show you how to do it once. Basically, you want to come in here and line yourself up with the center and place in 3 solid blocks right here, either to the left or to the right. It doesn't really matter. And then we're going to place in ice blocks in the rest of these locations right here to either side of it. It doesn't need to be ice blocks. You can just place water buckets here if you want to, but ice is definitely a lot quicker. Either way, once you have all that done, just go ahead and light these 2 nether portals. And now you need to break all the ice blocks without silk touch. That will flood the entire platform and you are basically good to go. And also remove these 3 blocks right here in the middle. Once everything is flooded, it should look a little bit something like this, and we do the 3 blocks in the middle trick. That way none of the drowns get stuck on these middle blocks of the nether portal. They'll all get pushed in right here instead, as you can tell by the flowing water. So do that exact same process for the other 2 sets of nether portals. The nether portal platforms are done, and all we need to do is grab a bunch of buttons, go to the middle here, and place buttons along the very edges of all of this ice going along the way, and then turn around and do the exact same thing on the opposite side. So we need to do that for the middle sections of the farm, and then we also need to go to either side of it, and also place a bunch of buttons along this edge right here, just so the water doesn't flow down towards our nether portals. Once your 4 rows of buttons are properly installed, go to the crest of both of these little peaks right here, and we need to place in a line of temporary blocks right here, and then a layer of ice on top of this. And you probably guessed it, we're going to break all of this ice without silk touch, and that is going to flood this entire side of the farm. So we need to do that for this side, and of course for the opposite side. And yep, basically just break all of this without silk touch, and then once it's all broken along the way, just mine out the blocks underneath it, and make sure not to actually break the ice platform below it. So once you've done that on both sides, the farm is basically done, but now we need to go to the nether and actually set up the kill chamber. So what you want to do is you want to get the coordinates of the very center of the farm right here, basically on top of this slab, divide these coordinates by 8, and then build a nether portal at that location in the nether. If you don't know how to link nether portals, then check out the tutorial in the upper right for all the information on that. Once you've properly linked your nether portal to your farm, you need to build a kill chamber that is 18 blocks below it. So you can count the blocks here, and basically we're going to be dropping them into a 2 wide area, and they're going to be falling enough so that you can one hit them with a regular diamond sword. So that is going to be 18 blocks, including the bottom of the nether portal, and then we're simply going to encase this with some glass blocks, or really whatever kind of block you want, going up until the very top of the portal. At the bottom of this, we're going to have a quad speed hopper loader. So we have a chest down here, 2 hoppers going into the back of it, and then 2 hoppers going into the top of it. And then these 2 hoppers are pointing into the ones in front of it. And then we're just going to put 4 slabs above it. So all of your drowns will spawn in there. You can smack them with a sword or throw a potion at them, and all the items will be tossed into this chest right here. You could also put some blocks right here as well to help contain the flow of items and experience. So all of that is incredibly straightforward, but now we just need to reinforce the backside of this nether portal. That way no mobs actually glitch out of the backside of it. So we're just going to make a 2 wide block of blocks going all the way up until the very top of the nether portal like so. And then we're just going to put a 3 wide area of blocks on the left side and on the right side of it as well. And that'll basically contain everything. I haven't seen any mobs fly out of the kill chamber when it's built like that. If you AFK for a very long time, then you might see some guys fly out of there, in which case, add some more blocks to it. You can never have too many blocks. Now, if you want access to actually punch the guys out of here, then remove these 2 blocks right here on either side and place in some upper slabs. That way you can either throw snowballs in there, or you can punch these zombies out of the portal and get them to fall down. And if you want to install redstone, you would install 2 dispensers at this layer right here with snowballs in it to shoot the drowns out of the portal and down into the kill chamber. Again, not that many ever get stuck in the portal, so you don't need to worry about it too much. One last thing before we put an optional roof on this thing, you need to go down to your AFK spot and install just a teeny tiny little roof right here with some slabs above it. That way you never get phantoms as you are using the farm. It's as simple as that. A real quick note, if you're deciding to build the farm out of solid blocks and the magenta stained glass locations, then you will need to put some slabs above those. That way nothing spawns on top of them. So keep that in mind. If you're not building out of glass, then you're going to need to slab certain locations like these areas and anywhere where a mob would typically be able to spawn. If you want to put a roof on this farm so that you can use it at any time of the day or night, it is really simple. So come up to the top of the build over here, and we're going to start counting up from this point right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then on the 10th block, we're going to place in our layer of leaves. So basically anywhere in the farm that has ice in it, you need a layer of leaves above it. So go to each 4 corners of the farm, find out exactly where they have ice. So there's an ice block directly below us, and then we're just going to branch off to the opposite side. And as you can see, there's an ice block directly below us right there, and then just do that going all the way around until you have a big square outline. So that's the size of our leaf roof, and now you just need to fill in that entire thing with leaves. And it should look a little bit something like that when you are done. Now, this has to be leaves. It cannot be anything else. You cannot use like solid blocks or stone or something. Otherwise, nothing will spawn in your farm. You can use a tinted glass if you want to, but it's definitely not worth your time. That is so much tinted glass. Just use one layer of leaves and you'll be good to go. Now, you're probably going to start seeing some drowns spawn inside of your farm, so definitely make sure that your nether side is good to go before doing this. Now, go to each corner of your leaf roof, and we need to branch out by 7 blocks with some solid blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Do that on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then you need to connect these together on the diagonal like so, and fill that in entirely. Now, do this on each of the 4 corners of your build. And now that you have each of those in place, we need to connect these all together with a line of solid blocks going all the way across the build. And once you have these little spaces kind of marked out, you need to fill in the entire thing with solid blocks. So do that for all 4 sides of it. Your roof is nearly done, but everywhere in your roof that has a solid block needs a slab on top of it. That way nothing spawns up there. So slab everything that is solid blocks. Do not put slabs above your leaves. And your roof is finally complete once you have all of that in place. To safely access the nether, you're going to want a player portal that is actually safe to go through, and that probably needs to be about 100 or 200 blocks away from the farm in order to not link up to these nether portals. No matter what you do, make sure that when your player portal is in the nether, it is within about 40 blocks of your actual drown portal. That way none of your drowns despawn. Also, if you have other players in the nether, there is a chance that your drowns could despawn before you get to them. So if there's other people in your world, just make sure that you're coordinating with them, or make sure they don't go near the drown portal. Also, you can use this farm with 2 people. Have someone AFK in the nether, have someone AFK in the overworld, and you're good to go. But this is also a single player friendly farm. So you can AFK here in the overworld for about 10 or so minutes before it gets very laggy in the nether. You'll get over 300 drowns in 10 minutes, so keep that in mind. If you enjoyed today's Bedrock Edition tutorial, then of course consider dropping a like, as it helps out the video and the channel a ton. If you're new here, then consider subscribing so that you don't miss future tutorials, and I'll see you guys down in the comment section in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and then there was silence.